very much, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, it's a pleasure, actually, to stand and speak in support of Tauhenare's bill. And like my friend and colleague Darian Fenton, I just want to say that it is actually nice. I don't share the view of the previous speaker that this bill shouldn't be supported. I think that it is nice to see a bill in this House relating to workers that isn't actually dealing to them. And I want to congratulate Tauhenare on that. I think that is really commendable. And I'm just going to say that I think that that Tau's noticed that we on this side of the House have been very supportive. I think indeed that Trevor Mallard was very helpful in terms of supporting the member, and I would ask with all sincerity that that the member consider supporting another worker bill that will be coming to this House very, very soon, and that is the bill that, in terms of supporting the right of every worker to redundancy compensation. And I think if that goodwill that I'm feeling flowing across the chamber can be replicated for that bill, then it would be a very happy day in this House, and I don't think we see many happy days in this House at the moment. Mr Speaker, this bill is nothing short of aspirational. It's not non-binding, but in a funny way, it's got that same feel about it. It's aspirational in that it does what is already happening in practice. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that happening, and I also want to put in record, and I say this very sincerely to the member, that I remember he was as renowned in the union movement for his contribution and his diligence and the work that he did as he is in this House. I think that everyone on this side of the House, and I can see affirmation from other members, that Tauhenare's contribution is certainly up there in this House with what it was in the union movement. And I say that with all sincerity to the member. Kia ora. And now, looking again, going back to the bill, it's really good to be saying something positive in terms, and I think, when would the last time be in this House that we've been able to say anything positive about any of the national members of Parliament? Certainly not that I can remember. And it may not be a huge issue, but it is something that is deeply felt by the member. It is something that he has held close to his heart since the 1980s, and it is probably what drove him to stand for Parliament.
Will he resign from Parliament now? Job done.
And I think that at the end of his career, I'm going to make sure that I hear his speech, because I know this will be up there with one of his achievements. It'll go down in history. I think it'll be the time. It's disappointing that the Maori Party are not supporting it at this stage. That is disappointing. Oh, they are supporting it. Despite the Workers' Union. I'm really sorry. Despite the Workers' Union, they are supporting. So I think, apart from perhaps act, but maybe even there'll be a meeting of minds of the House. So I think that the aspirational member Tauhenare has brought this House together under this bill, and I think that is very commendable. The one I do want to say, though, and it does seem rather sad that I have to do this when we are being quite positive, but there are things that have come before this House in terms of workers' rights that are not so aspirational, that are not so good. And that's things like when we saw the 90-day bill, that's now an act. I wish that Tauhenare had actually applied his heart, his soul, and actually really stuck up and convinced his caucus, as he has with this bill, that it was really something that shouldn't have been done. Increasing the minimum wage, that whilst we've seen it go where from $12 to $12.50 an hour, when the cry is to get that wage to $15 an hour. The slashing of pay equity, which, hello, deja vu, is exactly what happened in 1991. Now, those are the things that I would urge the member, and I can see that he's listening really intently, urge the member to reconsider his position on some of these things, and that in the future that we can see more of a meeting of minds on bills of workers' rights. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I call Dr. Jackie Blue. Mr Speaker, I'm delighted to speak to the first reading of my colleague Honourable Tau Hinere's Members' Bill. This bill amends the Employment Relations Act 2000 to require unions to hold a secret ballot vote of their members to approve a strike before undertaking any strike action. I understand that this is current practice in the larger unions, and I absolutely support that this is the